everyone, welcome to another Classic Movie Monday. I apologize, this video has to unfortunately be delayed. I was relatively busy and I made it clear in another video that I wasn't going to be uploading videos until Wednesday. But regardless, let me discuss what I wanted to discuss for this Classic Movie Monday, since it is the month of December. And since it is a Classic Movie Monday, why not talk about, in particular, a film that has been come to known, I think, throughout the sort of movie-going and people who like Christmas-oriented material, to look at the film Home Alone. And I think it is definitely safe to say that this one, in particular, I think gets fairly recognized, at least around this time of year. I wouldn't say it's obviously up there with other films like It's a Wonderful Life or other holiday-related content, but at the same time, it still seems to maintain a certain level of relevancy as far as culture and as far as people really embracing these kinds of more modern children's films, in particular, films that revolve around, in this case, a little boy. So without further ado, let me address briefly what this film is about, in case there are those that are unfamiliar, have never even seen Home Alone. Because I'm sure there are some people out there who haven't had the chance, or who are probably from a different country besides the United States, that probably aren't too familiar with this film, but I think there is even some recognition among other countries as well. But regardless, basically this movie revolves around a little boy named Kevin, who has a pretty big family. I mean, his family is pretty huge. They got a lot of people in that family, and he sort of feels kind of unappreciated, and also kind of, is sometimes taken advantage of by his other family members at certain points, in particular the children of the family. And unfortunately, he gets punished by his mother within the beginning of the film, and you sort of see how that impacts his sort of mindset as the film eventually progresses. But basically, what really sets off the plot is the fact that the whole family is going to Paris for the holidays, supposedly, and they have it all planned out, but unfortunately, they forget about Kevin. Yeah, not really the best of parenting, I would say. The mom definitely drops the ball on that one, but I mean, you could obviously say too that none of the other family members were as responsible either, or were probably just as much responsible for Kevin as the mom. But basically, what ends up sort of resulting from Kevin sort of being abandoned is, on the one hand, the mom trying to go back to try to get Kevin and see Kevin. And on the other hand, there is this level of Kevin sort of being happy at first that everybody is gone. And you kind of see how he sort of lives it up like any kid would. He just has just the time of his life, just doing fun, crazy things that you would expect a little boy of his age to do. And unfortunately, what ends up happening as the plot progresses is that there are these burglars that eventually come to try to steal stuff within Kevin's house. And since Kevin is the only one there at the house, he's really the only one that is capable of sort of defending the house. And so he sets up all of these elaborate schemes and traps so that the burglars are incapable of coming in and stealing something, or maybe even potentially harming Kevin. So, and the way in which this film executes the way Kevin manages to manipulate these burglars is just really well done. I mean, you feel like that even though some of the things, that Kevin comes up with might be, you might wonder, could an 8-year-old potentially come up with something like this? Although it's, again, a little bit, it's asking, I guess you could say the elaborateness of his uh, supposed trickery is somewhat maybe not as, again, realistic as to what I would expect an average 8-year-old to be capable of doing. But I mean, who knows? Maybe Kevin is just a really smart kid and knows how to really play himself out well, and really knows how to use various tactics to his advantage. But I think that's also what's great too about this film is it kind of ups it ups the level of uh, the way we see kids as far as, I guess, intelligence is concerned, and being able to, I guess, take a situation and try to uh, work their way around it when there's nobody else that's there to help them. And again, I think the way in which Kevin does this is just so unbelievably fun and entertaining and creative to watch, that it really does play into the comedy, which the majority of it is very slapsticky. And I would understand if some people are turned off by the whole concept of slapstick, because again, a lot of the times it really doesn't work for me as a comedy mechanism, because I don't really laugh when people are, hurt. I don't know. It's just not a thing that I don't like. I just don't find it as funny. Like that kind of misery-oriented comedy just doesn't really work too much for me. But despite that, I think, again, what sets this film apart is just how elaborate and creative and out of the box these traps are. So it's more of the whole way in which Kevin sets something up is what makes the joke and the comedy work to its advantage. And um, again, there is a lot of Christmassy oriented things also going on with this film. Now, as far as this, if there's exactly a Christmas theme, I don't think there necessarily is one, but at the same time, I still feel like it captures a certain part of Christmas that I think is fairly relevant, and that's the whole concept of childhood. Christmas is very uh, kid friendly and kid oriented. I mean, a lot of these holidays are. Heck, Halloween is very kid oriented, although it's, I think, grown into obviously also a more adult holiday too. But there is something fairly unique about Christmas, and the way in which this particular film showcases sort of the whole elaborate uh, setup of Christmas by having all of these houses all decorated lovely, and just the whole the whole scenery of snow, and on top of that, having a film that focuses on a child, in particular a child who uh, is going through sort of his own kind of growth and development, as sort of a kid, and seeing him do these more childlike things and whatnot, and sort of enjoying himself, but at the same time, when trouble comes, taking things seriously and trying to think of a way out of them, I think that is something very ingrained within people's minds, especially when it comes to this time of year, in particular Christmas, because kids are kind of out and about. There's a little bit more of a, I guess, a more of a ruckus maybe than usual. They're a little bit more wilder, I would say. Definitely the film even showcases that in the beginning when there's all these kids roaming around everywhere. But you know, it's to show you how the whole uh, innocence as well as the mischievousness of childhood really shines through and is sort of celebrated around this time of year. And I think this film dedicates that angle of it so well and definitely resonates into the whole culture surrounding Christmas. And I think it ultimately works. I don't really think I could really see this film in any other season. It just doesn't seem to work to its advantage as much as having it around this time of year. Uh, but I think that's really ultimately all I can say about this film without really giving too much away. I think it is rather enjoyable. I think it does uh, really offer something unique. And again, a lot of people might say that there are certain things about Kevin's character, or in particular the setup, that might be a little bit on the more obnoxious side. But at the same time, I think it's somewhat understandable that, you know, sometimes kids can be annoying, but at the same time, they also have other things that are fairly virtuous and clever and also unique. So, again, it gives you a very fully rounded picture, I think, um, and personality as far as Kevin's character is concerned. But again, I think that's really ultimately all that I could say. I would definitely recommend this film if you have not seen it. It is just something that I think a lot of people remember and a lot of people have enjoyed over the years and is considered to be more of, I guess, a modern day uh, oriented Christmas classic, so to speak. I think often people like to compare this particular film to A Christmas Story only because it's fairly similar in its kind of uh, it's various approaches, but again, at the same time, there's a completely different plot and sort of story surrounding it, and different circumstances, obviously, as well. So, but again, definitely worthy of recommendation. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year, and I hope to see you all in the next video. And have a wonderful holiday season.